So thank you guys so much for being here. This is the sixth session, sixth week, and it's all about finalize and publish your course. So it's really just wrapping up those last details that if you were building along the way, you would have worked towards. I'm just going to kind of move some stuff around. Bear with me one moment. I've got too many windows open. I'm sure you guys can relate. I usually go through and close stuff out before my trainings start, and I just got to chatting with you, Renee, and totally didn't do it. um, so yeah, this particular topic is going to talk about all the ways you can make sure that things are working well. So I definitely want to refer over to our information on Canvas. It's on the IT website, just as this last resource. As we're winding down this series, before the summer sessions kick in, this is really where you're going to want to go, that hub of information. So I had announced last week in an email, but I will reiterate, spring 2021 courses from Blackboard are going to be moved over automatically. So that's a little bit different. We had originally said spring 2020, but Blackboard was able to work that out for us, and they're going to get the newer courses done. So that's exciting. And then I'm going to close that window and pull open my demo course. So I have a sandbox version and an academic shell version. So those of you teaching in the fall, it will be a few weeks until the fall shells are made available. So you'd still be working in your sandbox or your Blackboard copy for the time being. And then once those academic shells come out, you will be able to copy over and get that stuff set up. So that's kind of where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to start off with, what do you do when that happens? And first, I'm going to try and hide my floating meeting controls. There we go. They were right in the way of all my menus. So this first one, copying your selected content into your academic course shell. So as you can see, my academic shell has those blueprint components that we want to encourage everyone to edit and utilize for those quality pieces. But there's two ways that you're going to be able to copy. And when I talked about this several weeks back, but I do just want to remind everybody that there are two methods, a push and a pull. And the push method is when you are actually in your sandbox space and you want to come over and you want to push some content over to your academic shell. And that would be just coming into the modules, and you can choose a whole module or an individual piece. It doesn't matter, whatever you want to move. And you're going to use the copy to feature. So the whole module, or you can just do individual items. It's really just depends on what it is. So a link you wouldn't have copy to because it's just a link, but you could do copy to on the entire module to get that included. And that will pop up a drop-down list that takes a while for my account to populate because I have system administrator access. So it's going to pull up every course for the entire university. So that's why it's really slow for me, but it's only going to pull up the courses for you that you're actually enrolled in. So your list should be pretty manageable. And you'll be able to select where you want this stuff to get pushed to, and then push the copy button and it will send it all over there. So that's a very easy, super straightforward method. The pull method is a little bit more complex. It's not hard, but it does give you more power. And this method, you're going to go into your academic course shell. At the time you get it, it would be empty. You would go to your settings, and you can also do this from the home page. There's a button there too, but I want to show you the one way it's always going to be available. Import course content on the right-hand side. And this is how we're going to pull in some content by copying a Canvas course and then finding the name of that course. And I'm looking for my sandbox demo where I've been building, and then I'm going to select specific content. and I will click import. Now the adjust events and due dates, just as a reminder, this is a really useful tool that next year when you teach the course again, you'll be able to put this year's beginning date and ending date, the new beginning date and ending date. And when you click import, it will change all of your due dates according to the calendar for that year and a day that it usually shifts. So it'll handle all of that for you as long as the due dates were programmed into the course. And that applies not only to due dates, but also to available and available, opening dates and the lock dates, available and until. So I'm going to say, I don't want to adjust my events and due dates for this example and say import. And then once this processes, I have a select content where I can go through and pick all of the specifics that I'm ready to copy over that I've been working on the entire time I'm building my course. Any questions on the copy process? Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Got a couple of choices that helps. And absolutely makes it where you can get started even if your academic shell isn't available. You can be getting ready and doing some work elsewhere. Okay, the second feature for finalizing is I want to show you adding people. So Banner is actually going to handle all of your student registrations and your teachers and TAs of record. So you don't actually put the official people in your courses, but you do have some opportunity to add non-official people. And this is going to be a variety of roles. So you can see the list really quick right here, but you also see it if you come and click the plus people button. So all you need is the person's email address. You can put multiple separated by a comma. So if you want to enroll several colleagues at one time, you can do that. And then you would change the role here. And just real quick, high level, teachers have the most access, obviously, because you'll be the teacher role. If you want to have a colleague in your course, but they're not a teacher of record, the colleague role is actually really great because it doesn't notify them of any grading reminders. So unless you have somebody who's officially teaching and responsible for grades, being a teacher in your course, they're going to get notifications for every single thing that happens, and it can be a little overwhelming if it's not your responsibility. So that colleague role just avoids that whole situation. And then these two affiliate roles are actually important. Anyone outside of UIW, maybe that you're contracting work with, so a vendor of some sort, they would need to, you would fill out a form for HR to give them a temporary account. It's good for a year. And then they would be able to be added to your Blackboard course. And you have two choices: a build role where they can access your content and help you build, or an affiliate view only role, which would be for, say, closed captioner to come in and preview your materials as a student, but they don't need to actually have editing rights. So those two are important. And then the observer role is nice because you can partner or pair an observer with a student, and then that observer can actually see the student's grades and performance. And so if you have an advisory relationship that you want to give somebody else a role in your course to keep an eye on a student, you do have that as a possibility with the observer role. So yeah, basically you would put the people in, click next. It would give you a verification to say that they were going to be added. You then confirm, and it will send them an invitation. That invitation will pop up as a notification bar across the top when they next log into Canvas, and send them an email. So make sure that anybody you're adding, they do need to accept that you invited them. If they do not, you will have an option on the screen at the top right here in this blank area, and it will say, like X number of people have not accepted, and then there will be a link to resend, and then you can click that button every so often, and it will send another invitation to remind them.
We do have a student that uses an interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be the observer room?
The interpreter would be the affiliate view only, most likely. That is, in my experience, what people have used so far.
Okay.
So the observer would only be if you wanted that person to be able to see the student's grades. And I doubt that they have that kind of relationship. Any other questions about adding people?
Yeah, so the colleague can make change to the course, right?
Yes,
Okay.
they can view and edit content, but not grades.
Okay.
So that's a nice way to share, if you're building a course together. Okay, the next area is also in this people, and that's to create groups. Now, creating groups is it's fairly straightforward. You can create a group set, and let's say I want to call this the final project groups. And I have choices, right? If I want them to sign up themselves or if I would like to do that automatically. Now, here's the thing. If I had students in my class, I would be able to do it automatically, but I don't have any students. So that's why it's important, if you want to automatically assign students into groups, you wait until your enrollments are populated. So you don't want to do this whole setup in your sandbox. You'll want to wait for your academic course after the students have been populated, and then come in here and create your group sets. And then you can choose, I have a class of 15, I want it to be 3 groups of 5, so I can do this here. And I also get some choices. So I can click save.
Just very quickly, can the Canvas randomly assign students to group, or they're just going to go from students based on alphabetic order? They're going to group.
It randomly assigns. It's either random or manual.
Okay.
So what I just did would have been a random assignment if I had some students in here. But since I didn't have any students, it just made my 3 groups. Now, a manual assignment of students, you basically will have a list of student names, and then you would drag and drop them into whichever group that you wanted to put them in. So that's the manual process, drag and drop, versus automatic. If there's students in the class, it will put them in randomly. And then the third being they can self-sign up. So totally up to you. You have the 3 choices. I also want to make a note, word of warning, don't open up any group assignments for students who you want to self-enroll until they have gone and signed up for their groups. So the reason is Blackboard had a process that if you did self-enrollments and you created an assignment, it would tell the students to sign up for their group in the process of completing the assignment. Canvas doesn't do that. It actually creates an opportunity where the students can just do the group assignment individually instead, and then you're stuck with 15 assignments instead of the 3 for your groups. So a little bit of a workflow warning. We found out the hard way this past semester. Okay, so this is my option for groups that I want to wait till I have students. I can come in and I can also delete and say, okay, and it will take all of that out of there. And I can go back to the main page and start over. Any questions on groups? Just creating them and putting the students in is pretty straightforward, just the usual red button. And then the second part of that is going and adjusting your group assignments. So any assignments that you have going on, if I come over here, and let's say I wanted the homework oral cases to be a group assignment, I could click on it and click edit. And scroll down, and I would be able to say that this is a group assignment, and I would be able to get these options. So you can see I would either have a drop down to choose from the ones I've created, or you can also go through the process to create it here. It's only giving me the process to create a new one because I deleted the one I had in the group section. But they are the exact same choices no matter where you go. Very common in Canvas. There's multiple ways to accomplish the same thing. So that would be important for your group assignment here. You can choose to assign grades to each student individually. So maybe you don't want to give group grades. They do the group assignment, but you give everybody their own grade. You have that as an option. And then you're also going to have an option to assign for due dates in specific sections. Now, again, this is groups and sections are only going to be set up in your actual academic course that the registrar and banner create for you that enrolls your students. You won't be able to mimic this in your sandbox and then copy it over. It just doesn't work that way. So once you're in your academic course, you'll be able to come and there will be an option to choose from your sections in this area. And that pops up just by putting my cursor in, and I can say, you know, section 1 stuff is going to be due on Tuesdays. Section 2 is going to have things due on Thursdays. I can control that here. Okay, any questions on those last couple of adjustments you want to leave to finish up groups and section assignments at the very end when you're in your academic course? Okay, so I'm going to cancel this and I'm going to come back to my home page. And once I have finished everything I've planned to build, I've got all my final pieces in place and I'm done. I want to use the student view tool to go through and check to see that everything looks the way it should for my students. And I say this because the teacher sees a little bit different of an environment than the student does. And it's difficult to catch mistakes when you're looking at it from where you sit over and over while you're building your course. So going into the student view, you know, it just kind of clears it up and lets you make sure that you've done everything that you intended. So make sure that you've got your course settings for the navigation menu to what, you know, to show them what you want them to get to, and that you hide the things you don't. And then you can, of course, click through all of your navigation and be able to look at all the things that you've got going on. You can click around just like you're a student and make sure that your links work and your information is all up to date. So once you use the student view one time, it creates a test student and you are allowed to go in as this test student and finish the assignments so that you can see what happens in the gradebook. So that's a nice feature. Once you leave the student view, then you've got that information over in the teacher view. But if you, for whatever reason, maybe you test it once and then you want to start over and test again, use the reset student button that's down at the bottom. So that will clear out the fact that there was ever a test student and let you start over from scratch. So you can repeat that cycle as much as you need to ensure that you're catching errors. So I've done this and I'm going to leave the student view. And once I do that, I then can come into my grades and I can see exactly what one student row would look like. And once you have all your students, they're going to be populated all the way down the page with your test student at the very end. So keep that in mind. And then you can come in here and you can assign points to this student and, you know, kind of go through, play with the grade book and get a feel for it. And then you can also go back home and you can go back to the student view and see what grades look like for your students. So what you did in the grade book would then be reflected. And so now I can see, oh, I had a missing assignment, but I got an 8 out of 10. And students control how this page works. So keep that in mind. They can arrange to look at different order they can calculate based only on graded assignments. They can uncheck that and it will change. And yeah, so they definitely have a little bit of control as well. I'm going to leave the student view. Any questions on student view?
Yeah, so when you on the student view, you show that there was a way for them to see their calculated grade.
Mhm.
How do you go about doing that on the faculty view? Because Blackboard has a component that you can do with the weighted calculator. So you put the percentage of each assignment, and it calculates the final grade for you. Is that the same thing with Canvas? Is there an option to do that?
So the assignments are all handled on the assignments page. So all your calculations are going to be done here. So what's inside of one group is averaged together. And then you can click the 3 buttons up here on the right to do groups weight and weight the grades based on the assignment groups. You can put in your percentages of however much they're worth. And then I'm just going to
It's
say, for
actually
example,
easier than Blackboard, I think, once you
yeah,
get used to it.
yeah, it's different, but it's definitely a much more simplified option. So your items would be averaged together and then worth 25% of the total grade. And so when you do that on this page, it's connected to the grades and it creates the grade book exactly for what you set up on the assignments page. That's where the connection happens. The same
Yeah.
concept.
I'm sorry. So
Mhm.
is there a way of doing it, but hiding that from the students so they can't see that weighted calculated grade, the final grade? Because what we do here is, as a motivation for them to complete their student evaluations, we give their grades right after the module is finished, but the semester doesn't really finish until, for example, May, right? But if they complete
Absolutely.
their evaluations, they could see their final grade. As if they haven't, then they have to wait until the end of the semester to see their final grades.
So in the right-hand corner, there's a settings for late policies that will apply to all of your work, as well as the grade posting policy. And you can do manually post grades, so they will be hidden by default. So just to keep in mind, though, that when you do manually post grades, what the students see isn't always exactly what their grade actually is, because you haven't released these grades yet. So it does change the student view. You can change it for the entire course, which is what I would be doing here and clicking update, or you can do that per column as well. So you can come to the grade posting policy and choose one that you don't want to post them all automatically. You've got control over the whole thing. And then you also have another layer of control in your settings. So in your course settings down at the very bottom, more options. You can hide totals in the student grade summary by clicking that checkbox right there. And you can also hide grade distribution graphs from students. So these additional 2 options are in the course settings, and you need to click update to apply them. That's definitely something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So now that we're back in the course settings, it's actually a great segue into what I was going to say next is the course link validator is a tool you'll want to use before you publish your course. Super, super useful. It's just this link right here says validate links in content. Again, we're in the course settings area, and I'm going to click that link and it'll take a second. A red button pops up to say start. And I'm going to say start, and then I normally push this button before class starts since it can take a little while to load, but maybe we'll get lucky and it won't take too long. So basically what this is doing is it's checking for broken hyperlinks in your course. Now that could be links to a Word document or a PowerPoint in your files. It could be a link to a website or a textbook or an article or a video. It could really just be anything that's, a link is possibly not working properly. It's going to give you an indicator on this page once the validator is done running. So we'll let that, yeah, there we go. Okay, so it says that it found 31 broken links, and you'll see that I have a checkbox next to show links to unpublished content. Well, as you know, you could upload files but leave them unpublished, or you could build modules but leave them unpublished. Well, it's just going to let you know in here, if this checkbox is checked, that this is going to include things that were unpublished too. Now I can take that away, and I have 7 of my links that I went down in number there. It's not going to show me the ones that were unpublished. And that's just because I know that I left them unpublished on purpose. So I want to clean up my list a little bit and only see what's potentially broken. And I say potentially broken because a lot of information that you link to outside of your course on the internet is going to possibly have a firewall of some sort. So let's just say, for example, you put a link out to a fantastic database from the library. Well, the student has to log into the library to be able to access that database. Canvas doesn't know that that part is happening. And so it's letting you know that your external links are potentially unreachable because Canvas doesn't have an account to log in to actually see that information. So keep that in mind if you have something that you're like, well, I mean, I'm clicking it, it's opening to the website it's supposed to go to. I think it's fine. It probably is. It's just if it requires a second login, that's where Canvas is just giving you a warning. For this one, I'm taking a look, kind of what's going on. Exam 4 module has some issues. My pages here have some problems. And then I can also open up these links to go directly to the areas that have the issues. And now I can see, okay, what exactly is going on, as well as the specific items that it's saying I have a problem with. So it does do its best to direct you to exactly where you're supposed to go. It's not exactly perfect, but it is very useful. And hopefully you're familiar enough with your materials that you could find what it was referencing. Any questions on the course link validator? Okay, if you don't have any broken links because you built very carefully, it will give you fantastic like fireworks of confetti if you don't have any broken links. Rarely have I ever seen it, but it has happened to me a couple of times. I've gotten lucky. Okay, the last things we're going to talk about is making sure that our students have access to the course when they need it. So there's 2 steps to this process. The first step is going to be going back into your course settings and checking your participation start and end dates. So this whole participation section is what controls when your course opens and closes. You've got 2 choices. By default, it's going to say term, and that's going to be associated with the university's basic academic calendar, when the average courses start and stop. Health professions, we almost never are going to have the same dates as the term. So you just want to completely ignore it and say course and put what you want to have happen. So right here, I've got class starts, or the class is set to start May 10th at midnight. I can go earlier, say I want my students to get access the Friday before class starts. I have control of that. And then I also have the option to restrict them from viewing the course before the course start date. So let's just say I don't want them to see it before May 7th. So I'm going to keep this checked, but afterwards it's okay if they can view. So after the 13th is fine. I come down, I'm going to say update course settings. And then I'm going to come back to my home page, and I've double checked all my work. I'm ready to go. I'm going to do the last step, which is publish the course, by clicking the button in the top right corner. Once it loads, it's going to turn green and the course is now published. And I can also see this on my dashboard. So my course will have moved from the bottom up to my published courses at the top. And May 7th, students will be able to enter this course if they are enrolled. And that is the last 2 on how you make sure that they get access. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, so once you went through the course link validation to something popped in my head. So when my course was copied from 2020 to Canvas, you sent an email saying that I was over the limit, the capacity or gigabytes limit for my page.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still going to be recording our lectures either through Zoom, and we need to post those videos to the Canvas because that link is going to be broken after a month. They only hold our recordings for about a month before it goes away, so we have to manually download the videos.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I post that through the Echo 360 so that it won't use all the capacity or space availability that I have?
Sure. So you're just going to go over to Office 365 or to Echo 360. So you're in health professions, we've got two options. We've got Stream or Echo 360. So I can open up Office 365 here, and then I can also go to Cardinal Apps and I can open up Echo 360. And then of course, this is going to take just a minute for this to open up, and it's not going to look like yours because I have different access. So give me just a minute to make this look how it should. Change to an instructor. Say okay. Now, basically what we're going to do right there, I'm going to say I want to upload media. I've gone to Zoom. I've downloaded my selection, whatever it is I want to do. So I've got in my particular space, I have in OneDrive, I've got my Zoom folder, tons of videos in here, and I can just click on it, pick the video, say okay. And oh yay, it's going pretty fast. Time is on our side today. Sometimes those hour-long videos can take forever. So I've got this up in here. And then I would be able to link this into my course. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. I can go to settings and let's see if I can make it happen here. Echo 360 is going to be maybe not in that space. That's, okay, I'm going to think that that's not a problem, but I don't know for sure. So bear with me. I've got John Miller is the administrator for this product. So I might have to ask him if I can't make this work, why it's not turned on. So let's see. So let's say I just want to put my video right here on this space. I'm going to get rid of the avocado video, say goodbye for the last session, goodbye avocado, and I'm going to come over here, use my plugin, say view all, and then see if I can find it. And yeah, no, it's not in here. So it's supposed to be here. And then you would be able to just put the video on the page because it's in your Echo 360. Now, he will have that turned on quite shortly. I will contact him as soon as this is over and get that set up for us because I thought it was already done last week, but I guess not.
Yeah, through Blackboard, they have like our IT guy, Brian, he creates the link. And then once the link is created, I can go through Blackboard into the Echo 360, which has its own tab within the Blackboard, and then I can just upload the video into it so the students have access to it.
So yeah, there's actually, so that is a really good point. I'm glad you said that because it just made a bell like totally ding in my head. I am not in a pharmacy course and therefore I don't have access to the tool. That's why it doesn't work.
Okay.
So yes, you're going to have that ability. And I would connect you with John Miller and Brian. They work together and can definitely let you know. There is a way to have your Zoom linked up to just have that happen automatically.
Oh, okay.
I think Barnes talked about that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's a thing. It just I think it requires John doing something for you. It doesn't happen automatically. So I definitely would say send John Miller an email I want my Zoom videos to go in my Echo 360 automatically, and he will say no problem. And it's super easy for him, not an issue whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, easier than what I just tried to show you, even though I forgot that I wasn't in a pharmacy course and wouldn't be able to make it work. The details, those are important. Great question, though. What else do you guys have on your minds?
That's it.
Okay.
Just hoping you're going to be around long enough for when my course starts and I messed it all up.
No,
Can help me fix it.
I will be here, and yeah, you will be good. Don't worry. The School of Professional Studies kicked off the first school that started last weekend. And I saw one of the announcements that one of the professors had said, I expected a few technical problems and I haven't had any. And so he was really excited. So don't worry, you'll be okay. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and I am happy to hang out. If you guys have any other questions, I'm here for you.